Hey, welcome back. Well, the Patreon coven voted and decided that they wanted to see some more witchy routines. So I thought I would take you along my morning and show you some of the witchy moments that make up my day. So my day starts pretty early because I like to get up, I do some morning skincare, and then I go to the gym. And you might not think going to the gym is witchy, but I like to balance the 4 elements, and that's sort of where a lot of my magic draws from. Looking at the 4 elements and seeing that deeper meaning and symbolism in everyday life. And so something like moving your body to me is the element of earth. Working out, going to the gym is something that to me is very witchy. It's a very witchy moment because I can balance these energies around me and within myself, and I can connect to them. After I've gotten home, taken a shower, and gone through a little bit of that morning rush, I like to make my bed. That is something that I like to do every single day, every single morning if I can, if I have time to, especially because we spend so much time in our bed and so much energy accumulates there, so much happens in the mind and the spirit during dream time and when we're sleeping, and especially if you do dream work. So I like to keep my bed fresh. I like to change out the sheets regularly, wash them in moon water, and I also use a moon water spray, which I'll show you in just a second. I keep it on my bedside table, and I also like to tidy up my bedside table as much as possible. So I've got this clip, which you'll see a little bit later. I like to charge that under the moonlight, and then just anything that I kind of keep over there. So I move some pens that I use to take notes or journal. I use the gua sha. I like a rose quartz one, and I use that with an oil. I do that for my glamour and beauty magic. I also have this hand cream that I love and this cuticle oil, and both of them carry some magical energies in them, and I use them in some magical work, more so for glamour magic. I'll actually link the recipe to that oil there that I use with the gua sha, and then here is the moon water spray that I like to use. And these are things that, yes, I do them daily. I'll actually go more into detail into beauty and glamour magic, but tidying up these things to me is a way to set the intention and set the energy for the day. And then also I sleep under the 8-pointed star. So if you know its connection and symbolism, you'll understand how deep of a meaning that has. Tending to my garden and my plants is part of my regular practice. It's something that I have to do every day, especially living in the desert. We have to really water things, but I also see it as a devotion, an act of devotion and taking care of things, tending to things. My practice is very earth-based, and so here I am trimming some native desert broom, which I'm going to use to make brooms later. So that's something that I might not do every day. It's not part of my daily practice, but it's part of my regular practice to look at the things around me and use the things that are native and local to me in my craft as much as possible. So crafting brooms from the local desert broom plant, and then paying attention, paying close attention to it as a calendar, using that to see what the insects are doing, what the animals are doing. They love collecting pollen from all of the plants around and all of the blossoms. Look at this little bee with his little pollen pockets. He's so cute. And so that's something that is not, visually very witchy, but it is. It does have so much deeper meaning. I like to use things from my garden in my practice. So of course there are times when I want a specific ingredient and I might go out and seek that and seek that out and find it and bring it into my practice and incorporate it into my craft. But where I really find a lot of connection is tending to the relationship with the plants that I have, that I grow, and learning about those plants, learning about local things. So here I have some rosemary that I harvested, dried, and I am ready to use. Here's a little bit of a behind the scenes moment here so you can see how this actually works. Since it is October, I've added to my regular seasonal altar an ancestral altar. So here I am giving an offering of coffee for the ancestors and tending to the different altars and spirits that I have. So if you haven't seen my Samhain altar for this year, here's what it looks like. I'll link the video from last year where it shows me setting it up and kind of going into different ways to celebrate Samhain. Again, because it is October, the veil is thinning and we're coming up on Samhain, I'm going to do some extra protection magic. So I'm putting together a protection spell bag here. First, cleansing all my ingredients using a black bag. I'm anointing a moonstone with black tourmaline and then an obsidian with my protection oil. And I also have a howlite skull and a sprig of rosemary. Then I'm going to anoint myself and put it all into this little bag or this little pouch and carry that around with me for about a week. And then I'm going to recharge it. So you can, of course, recharge and cleanse all of this under the full moon. That is always a great idea. Another thing to do is I like to use salt or selenite. So you can put the whole bag as a whole on either of these, or you can take it just a step further. And if you want to take that sprig of rosemary after it's dried, you can crumble it up into the salt and make a nice protective mixture there. And then you can kind of deconstruct the bag, set things where you want to set them. If you want to use both selenite and salt or just one or the other, and you can let them sit there overnight or maybe just a couple hours, anoint them again and put the bag back together. So this is a really good thing to have for some protection, carry with you and have it as the veil is thinning. Another part of my witchy routine, the jewelry that I wear on a regular basis. So with my earrings, I like to cleanse and charge them regularly so that I can hear clearly. I get clear messages. I have clear audience. And so that is something that is important to me. And each of them tend to have symbols. Along with my necklaces, I like to cleanse and charge them regularly and anoint them. So I have the 8-pointed star and I have the moon phases. I have a Kambaba jasper and a protective ward there, and of course a crescent moon, different crystals and different amulets and things on my wrist that have special meaning, and I like to cleanse and anoint and charge those regularly, but I wear them daily. Also, here is my favorite broom. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I am a domestic witch, and that falls under the eclectic witch category, but I incorporate green magic, house magic or hearth cottage magic, hedge magic, and of course kitchen magic into my regular practice, into my routines. So cooking seasonally, again being inspired by my region, my environment, the energies around me, and my garden, things that I've formed that connection with in nature, then come into the kitchen. And I like to do kitchen magic every opportunity that I have. So no matter what I'm cooking, and I have my little helper here, I like to incorporate all of those energies. So I look at individual ingredients and then think about their correspondences or think about their energies and how I can shape those intentions. So I'm going to go into kitchen magic in a future video coming up soon, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. But this is something that I ended up doing this day. I don't make bread every day because it's quite time consuming, but I did on this day. This was a pumpkin, cardamom, and rosemary cauldron bread. It was quite delicious and it was great for seasonal inspiration, but also using some of the things from my garden in my practice and in my craft. So you don't have to make bread in order to do kitchen magic. You can look at whatever you are making for dinner and look at one of the ingredients and make it a little bit more magical. Now we're all making moon water, but I like to keep it on tap, so to speak. I put out a lot of jars, keep them in the fridge, and I just drink that as my regular water as much as I can. I like to add a couple extra things. So I've got some lemon for joy and some cleansing. I've got some spearmint. Not only do the two taste delicious together, but it also brings in that cleansing so that I can think, let me speak clearly, let me cleanse my words, let me cleanse myself from the inside out. I add some minerals, some sea moss extract, and some floral essence, and then I shake in my intention. So just like you might stir your intention into your coffee, shake it into the water. Now I do make sure to incorporate what I call 20 minutes of intention, and I'm actually doing a Plan Like a Witch immersion experience coming up soon. So make sure that you are on the newsletter, in the newsletter email list, so that you will know when that's coming up. But the 20 minutes of intention is something that I do to make sure that I am practicing my craft, connecting to my craft every day, and I just take a couple minutes to journal, read, meditate, whatever it is that I need to do, cleanse myself, protect myself, whatever it is. So here I'm getting ready to work and I made some coffee. So I put a sigil into the coffee grounds and then I pulled a card. This card is going to help me do some divination. So whatever card I pulled, I'm putting it underneath my coffee, and then I put a little bit of cream in there, a splash, and interpret the symbols within the cream. So you see the cream sort of cloud up and form these different symbols and designs and things, like you might interpret clouds in different shapes, doing the same thing here for divination. So a little bit more devotion or intentional time of me lighting this candle. Again, some protection. It is the season where the veil is thinning. I'm pulling a card. I like to pull one card for every day if I can, and set it here to tell me, what is the intention, what is the energy. I'm getting ready to do some busy work, so this is really helping me. And then I'm anointing the statue that I have here. And this statue to me is Universal Dark Mother. And so I guess I could get into that a little bit more in the future, deities or spirits that I work with if anyone is interested. But did my work, finished the bread, and actually got ready to start the busyness of the evening routine. So I will have these Kitchen Witch recipes and some more Kitchen Witch information coming up soon. I want to thank my Patreon Coven members, and I want to thank you all for being here and for tuning in to hang with me and see some of my witchy morning routines. Blessed be.